Tarvaktaina Vanamaha. Om Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Gurave Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Astoktarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved, Nityalila Pravishta Om Astoktarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my prostrated Dandavat pranams to all of you. So today is a very special day. It's the cleaning of the Gundicha Marjanam festival. When Mahaprabhu inaugurated this festival personally, when Jagannath, he's going to the Gundicha. Gundicha is the name of Indradumna's queen. And so he called this temple the Gundicha, which represents Vrindavan. So Lord Jagannath is making his way there when in a couple of days, on the 20th, day after tomorrow. So the Gundicha has to be all cleaned and prepared for the Lord of the universe and his brother and sister to actually come and reside there for 9 days. So previously, just the king's servants would clean the temple. But Mahaprabhu saw this as such a wonderful opportunity for the devotees to cleanse their hearts by performing this beautiful festival of Gundicha Marjanam, cleaning the temple. So today, this tradition has gone right around the world. And in every temple in the world, they perform this beautiful festival of cleaning nicely the temple. Of course, cleaning the temple represents the act of cleaning the heart of the sadhak and having that opportunity to clear and purify. So how do we clean the heart? Our acharyas, they've given us the 4 principal anartas that are there. There's Hridai Dubalyam, Asat Trishna, what's the other ones? Aparad, and I've got it written down actually. Aparad, I said Asat Trishna, Aparad. Oh, Swarup Brahm. Yes, this misconception about the path. Is it Krishna? Is it Shiva? Is it Swagaloka? Who should I focus on? So this Swarup Brahm can be purified, of course, by absorbing Shastra and listening to the Harikatha of saintly persons. They can actually describe to us what is our true path, our Swarup. So an Asat Krishna means having alternative desires, like do I want moksha? Do I want yogic powers? Do I want fruits from this world, karma yoga? What do I want? What am I engaging in? So we can take out our microscope and examine these 4. What did I say them all? These 4: desire for the objects of material wealth, of this material world; desire for swaga, that was the one I missed out; desire for yogic power and liberation. So we can examine all these closely. My Gurudev used to say regularly, we should 3 or 4 or 5 times a day reset our compass internally. What is my desire? Why am I chanting Hare Krishna this morning? Why am I doing prikrama later on in the morning? What is the purpose of my offering bhoga? Just to examine it and see if I'm on track to please Krishna in every instance, rather than we discussed the other day about the 2 different types of nama bas, pratibimba and chaya. So am I trying to please the object of devotion? Am I connecting to the object? Like chaya is nama bas. So we want to perform Shuddha Bhakti. So we don't want these interferences of chaya or pratibimba. Pratibimba means the reflection. That means I'm not really looking at the object, but I'm looking at the how I can accumulate something. It's about me again, rather than about Krishna. So this is very difficult to actually purify. So this opportunity of Gundicha Marjanam gives us a direct opportunity to externally cleanse the various temples of the world, wherever we are, in any situation. And I can remember personally so many different temples I was in when they had this festival. And wonderful for all the devotees to come and throw water everywhere, clean, scrub everywhere. These are all the external aspects, but it's very purifying because you're cleaning Krishna's temple. So Mahaprabhu, he inaugurated this. And in chapter 12 of Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is all described very, very beautifully. How Mahaprabhu would make them all sweep, first of all. And he said, I will check your piles to see how much you've actually swept, indicating it's a very individual path. It's not that it's going to be all accumulated together collectively. No, you have your particular background with your particular baggage that you're particularly carrying. He has his, etc. We all have our own purification that we need to go through. I've often said reference to in Sankarikor in Varshana, where we walk through to see that beautiful Varshana pastime places at Vilasgaha, all the different places there. And it's a single journey. You can't go together. So individually, Mahaprabhu is stressing that. He's going to check everyone's pile. And after he's checked everyone's pile, everyone looks at his pile, and his is by far the biggest pile, indicating his humility, that he is thinking that actually, he's worked harder to collect all the stones and straw and everything in the temple. And then all those are gathered and thrown outside. And then Mahaprabhu says, now do it again. So again, the whole thing is done. And again, everyone has their little piles. So now it's starting to become cleansed. And then they bring in water pots. And Mahaprabhu arranged with Kashi Mishra, the superintendent from Prataparudra, to have hundreds and thousands of pots available. Mahaprabhu is doing this pastime with all his Nityasiddha Parikas. They're all eternal associates from the spiritual world. And they're all doing this apparent menial activity. Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, all of these personalities are sweeping and cleaning. So generally, Brahmins don't do this type of thing, but they're doing it happily because it's pleasing the Lord. So then they start throwing water everywhere, scrubbing and cleaning. And it's described in this chapter 12 that some parts have to be really, really, really rubbed with many buckets of water to actually cleanse them. So this is like there's parts within us connecting with our false egos, etc., material attachments that really have to be scrubbed carefully. So on this particular day, if we hadn't had a chance to clean the temple externally, we should at least engage internally in cleansing the heart carefully. Look at the 4 anartas. Actually, if you go to my website, www.bvtridandi.com, we should put it somewhere on the video so people can see. And in there, you can just type in anartas, and it comes up the 4 anartas, and then the 4 divisions within each anarta. So it's very good to have a printed out copy of that around for you to regularly, at least once every 12 months on this particular day, to examine and see where I can improve the cleanliness of my heart, to bring Krishna to a beautiful seat within the heart. So we can access the heart in a Shuddha Sattva, pure transcendental state. Once these anartas, these anarta nivritti, so this next stage after anarta nivritti is nishta. So this is when great steadiness will come in the mind and heart of the sadhak. He's not fluctuating or just suddenly going up, suddenly going down, because the platform has been made very secure because he's rejected all of these lower considerations. He's becoming one focused on the objective. And straight after Nishta is that place where you can't pull your mind away from Krishna. That's the place of Nishta. Your mind doesn't go anywhere except Krishna in every circumstance. We just had a class with some people, and this one lady, she's a teacher in a Muslim school in Bhopal, and she wears her tilak to school, and she's always having her counter mala on her finger, counting, doing her japa. And when she's teaching the kids language, she teaches Hindi, and she wants to get the right pronunciation. She says Radha and Madhava, like that, and she's giving them these. They're all Muslim kids, and everyone respects her for that because they see she's a really good teacher, etc. But we were discussing how you can see everything in your workspace as Krishna. Wherever you are, make it Krishna. Because if you go to a workspace for 6 or 7 hours in the day and you don't have any udipan or any stimulus towards Krishna, you're going to become very covered. And many people in the world are like that. They can work in pharmaceutical places or company or shops or all kinds of different things. And if they don't have some clear udipan, inspiration towards Krishna, they're going to become covered. So our objective is as many hours of the day to be absorbed in trying to please Krishna throughout our activities. This lady was telling me today, even one of the Muslim teachers, they went to a Muslim, like Medina, where they all go, and she brought back this beautiful, like ornate countermala for her. So it was a nice gift. You understand that the mood of respect towards someone who is practicing paka. So we should try to include these into our lives. So this day of Gundicha Marjana, when these festival days happen like this, we have to say something about them, just like the appearance and disappearance days. If we neglect to honor them, where's our history? Where's our culture? And in a couple of days' time, it's going to be the Rath Yatra festival. So we should discuss all of that, Rath Yatra festival. And then there'll be the return Rath, then there'll be the Hira Panchami. All these festivals are there to enliven the devotees. Krishna says in the 11th canto, he says that Uddhava is asking him about culture in amongst the devotees. And Krishna says he's very pleased when all the festivals are observed in my name, when all the festivals are nicely honored with decoration, flowers, etc., kirtan, prasadam, just like we had the beautiful festival yesterday of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Gadadhar Pandit. This was a very wonderful festival to exchange in. And they had a beautiful festival at Swananda Sukata Kunj. They just sent me some really nice pictures, and the pictures of Gaur Gadadhar, very beautiful new dress. Krishna is very pleased. We are servants of Krishna, and our only objective is to please Krishna. If we can somehow or other please Krishna with our various activities, particularly, of course, in regard to Guru. If Guru is satisfied, because he's living presence, he's on the planet. All the sadhus, all the Vaishnavas, if elevated Vaishnavas are there and we can serve them, then this is the very strongest impetus for our devotional practice, because it's tangible, it's right there, so we can see it. So worshipping Guru every day, chanting his pranam mantras, etc., all our Guru Vargya, this is very pleasing to Krishna. So Gundicha Marjanam Mahotsav ki jai. Gold Premanandi. Any question about that?
Maharaj, you were saying about Udip, means what is
Udipan.
that? Udipan, stimulation. So for a sadhak, let's say after hearing all the katha from or leela from sadhu, and let's say some material things stimulates that leela or katha, is that good or bad? Let's say some music, something
Reminds you of Krishna?
uh,
No. If some music reminds you of Krishna, especially in India, they're always having devotional songs. Of course, that's wonderful.
No, not devotion. Any some material song, some. So
Mahaprabhu himself was singing that material song during the Ratha Yatra.
not only song, anything. Let's say you see.
If it reminds you of Krishna, if it reminds you of Krishna, what's the problem? The objective is to remember Krishna, however that is, however that comes, in any form. Sometimes when I've been traveling in the world, people have pointed to a derelict mountain of like stone and saying, oh, they think of that as being Govardhan in their meditation. And then some little river, oh, this is Yamuna Devi. This is very good. What's the problem of overlaying the environment with Krishna any way you can do it?
I want to continue with questions. For example, we listen.
Give him the microphone.
For example, we listen to music. It is electronic music.
It's what?
Not. It is electronic music. For
That's
example,
horrible, isn't it?
not. It's horrible. But we think, oh, it is the talent of Krishna. So
I can't think. That's very hard. That's a real challenge.
What's happened now?
Bhakti Rakshak Shrita Maharaj, I'm always upset with that horrible techno music that they have here in Bengal. It's so overpowering and so loud and blistering, and it makes no sense. It's not even music. You can't even call it music.
We were speaking about what they playing.
Yeah, I know.
We have some special, very talent of music, some of German or Japan compositors, artists, for example, very.
Bhakti Rakshak Shrita Maharaj said, any sound vibration in the holy Dham is transcendental. So he said that before there was this techno music. He said that, many, many years ago, 20, 30 years ago. I don't know that he'd say the same thing again about that techno music. That techno music, we just put our earplugs in and wait until it's gone. So it makes us take shelter of Krishna when we hear that music, because it's so horrible and overwhelming that we just pray to Krishna. So it is in that way, it's the negative running to Krishna, because that's so horrible. But the actual sound vibration is no sense at all. And Japanese kirtan is wonderful, different kirtans around the world.
So I heard Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I think Chaitanya Bhagavatam, he wrote commentary.
Yes.
So he said all this music, material music, what we listen, it is he called this Tauriatica.
Call it what?
Tauriatica.
Tauriatica.
Yes.
I don't understand that word.
It is. Now I remember. He said it is obstacle in devotion. So I have this some.
We don't let
attachment.
anything be an obstacle in our devotion. Whatever the obstacle is coming, we can turn it around to be a support for our devotion in any circumstance. I do believe what Bhakti Rakshak Shrita Maharaj said again, that the environment is always favorable for bhakti. Whatever's going on in the environment, it's always favorable for bhakti if you're devotionally clear enough to actually turn it to bhakti. Whatever is happening, it's our responsibility to perceive it as supportive for our bhakti. But it's not easy, like you're describing. But still, we have to somehow or other reconcile everything. Otherwise, what will happen? We'll just go crazy and start condemning this material. We know this material world is rubbish. What is the alternative? We don't have an alternative. Huh? Is it? There isn't an alternative except to turn it somehow towards Krishna. You understand? Tell me.
I cannot. I not all understand, actually. Not all understanding.
If there's something that really disturbs you, we should always see I'm the person who's responsible for my own disturbance ultimately. I have to take control of my mind. There are billions and zillions of reasons to be disturbed every single day on the planet. If I choose to be disturbed about different subject matters, I have to try to reconcile somehow or other in relationship to Krishna. What does Krishna want? Perhaps Krishna doesn't want me to sleep at night when that techno music is going. Perhaps he wants me to get up and chant Hare Krishna mantra very, very loudly. There must be an alternative every single time. It's not that Maya can ever cover the pure spirit soul. She can't. She's the external energy. The pure spirit soul is the internal energy, Antaranga Shakti. You're made of Antaranga Shakti. If you're going to say, oh, I have to sit underneath this Bahiranga Shakti, this lower Shakti, that's your decision. To sit under the influence of the lower energy. Isn't it? If I don't want to sit under that energy, then in any circumstance, tell me another circumstance that's really disturbing. What is disturbing? Yes,
me,
you.
What?
Tell me one reason.
For example, about me, if I'm in my past life, I was a DJ.
You were what?
I was a DJ.
A what?
A DJ.
Idiot.
Yeah.
I can't understand what you're saying.
DJ. Come producer music.
Oh,
DJ.
Yes.
DJ.
Yes. So sometimes I'm playing music and mixed some tracks, and I like it, and I think so beautiful tracks. Oh, it is talent of Krishna. So it is my mind send me this. So I cannot stop playing music because I think because it's for me it is.
But if it's music directed to Krishna's glorification, it has a purpose. But if it's not to do with Krishna, throw it away quickly. Quickly expel it. If it's not reminding you of Krishna, then don't do it. Because it will just give you the embrace of the lower energy. The Bahiranga, Maya. We are Tatashta. We flip, flop all the time. Our journey is to try to stay in the higher state of consciousness, right? So whenever anything comes up, Narottam Das Thakur says it's like drinking poison. Don't drink that worldly poison because it will disturb the mind. Control the mind and the senses. My Gurudev used to say we should become like iron. Very, very, very strong. And not allow ourselves to be distracted and derailed by so many influences that are around. And it's always our own choice. Don't ever say, oh, it's his fault or her fault or their fault that made me think like this. That means you're being controlled by them or whatever in a lower place. We have to be the controllers of our own journey. This is what chapter 16 in Jaiva Dharma is all about. Brajanath, he asks 7 questions of Babaji in chapter 16, and they're all saying, well, it's not my fault. Why did Krishna arrange it like this? Poor me. In English, we call this the victim complex. It's not my fault. I was a DJ in my last life, so how can I help it? You can live with that and be like crippled all your life and just say, oh, poor me. Or you can say, to hell with it, and take some strong energy to cut it, or replace it with something else. Replace it with Govinda Dev music. Replace it with beautiful Shanai music. Replace it with something else that will remind you of Krishna. We have to work at these things. This is what these anartas are. This is what cleaning and scrubbing the Gundicha Marjana is all about. We have to put our sleeves up and we have to work hard at our various material influences that are still attracting us today. Like sex life, for example. That also has to be completely expelled if it's got nothing to do with glorifying Krishna. All these different aspects of our lives. Understand? We do the best we can. What else are you going to do? Curl up and cry? Poor me. Because that's the other alternative. That's all we can do. Be like a little baby. Little babies never think it's their fault. It's always him. He did it. He did it. He's the culprit. Go and get him. Doesn't work. There's always someone to blame. My friend the other night in England, he wrote and told me, oh, there's a horrible man living next door to me. And right in the night, when it was very hot in summer, he put a fan on, electric fan, right against the wall where my room is, so I couldn't sleep all night listening to his fan. Poor me. And then in the morning, he becomes very disturbed. So these kind of things happen in life. How to resolve them? First of all, we have to feel sympathy for the person who's causing us the problem. We have to realize that they are spirit souls also, but more than likely bewildered and really stupid. That's why I said Mahaprabhu is telling all the different devotees to make their own little piles of dust and dirt individually. 1,000 devotees, 1,000 little piles of dirt. It's not collective. As soon as we try and drop in the collective group, we lose that strength completely. You lose it totally. That's what an institutional mentality is about, losing your own personal identity. We're not in an institution. Don't be in an institution. It won't support bhakti. In the end, it won't support bhakti. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, he said the same thing. He said, or I'm quoting him rather, he said that Bhakti Devi cannot flourish within an institutional environment. As soon as you start to spread your wings to fly to Krishna, then institution has to be controlled. There has to be controllers there. So they cut those wings because they don't fit into the little box that you're trying to put everyone in an institution. And don't have this mentality in your mind. Whatever is your difficulty personally, put everyone else aside and address it and make your own personal resolve to it. And then easily you can go across it. Always call for Guru's help. Always call for the help of Nityananda Prabhu, and everything will be solved. Okay? Okay? Okay, so Gundicha Marjana Ki Jai. I'm happy you brought that up because this is like what we're talking about, Gundicha Marjana. This is exactly what the topic is. What are the particular attractions that we still have here that need to, first of all, be admitted, like not be in denial, not think, oh, this is okay, or I'll just have a little bit of this. But if you know it's not supporting your bhakti, expel it. And yabilashita shunyam, expelled. All material desires are expelled on the path. Okay? Where are we up to? Last 6. So now we're on page 831 for the listeners at home in the green edition of Jaiva Dharma, and we're doing the Falshruti, and we're in the final 4 verses. Jaiva Dhamma Pratishe Shuddha Bhakti Hoy, Jaiva Dhamma na Pradile Kape Bhakti Noy.
One who reads Jaiva Dharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva Dharma can never attain Bhakti.
So faithful. Our Shraddha has to be strong, and then strong results will actually come. But the method of reading will increase our faith when logically and rationally Bhaktivinoda Thakur, He so many times presents the tattva in such a simple, clear way, because he's made all these different conversations between non-devotees and devotees, and how to speak to non-devotees, how to speak to the opposition, how to speak to these smarta Brahmins, etc., how to speak to bewildered people. So different characters are speaking all the time, inspiring faith. So this faithful deliberation on this Jaiva Dharma is going to bring strength, confidence, and happiness ultimately at the awakening of our original opportunity to please and serve Krishna. Rupa Nuga Abhiman Pate Trita Hoy Jaiva Dhamma Vimukha Ke Dharma Hine Koi.
Faithfully reading Jaiva will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as Rupanuga.
So Rupa Nuga, we've said so many times, Rupa Goswami is the emperor, or not the emperor, the commander of our line. He's the first person in our line. He's the person who Mahaprabhu could recognize as being completely qualified. What's that? Prema Surupe, Daita Surupe. What's that verse? Prema Surupe, Daita Surupe. Nija Surupe, Sahajabi Rupe. Nijana Rupe, Jata in Rupe. So it's saying in this verse, Prema Surupe, Daita Surupe, this verse, it's saying that Rupa Goswami is most qualified person to receive the instructions from Mahaprabhu. As a young man, he was brought up a Brahmin, and then he was what we call in English press ganged. He was pulled into the Muslim court. The Nawab of Bengal threatened that if you don't come and serve in my court, I will persecute the Vaishnavas, because Rupa Goswami and his brother Sanatan, they were always in the company of Vaishnavas. So the Nawab of Bengal knew that he could capture him by threatening the Vaishnavas. And then, so they came to protect the Vaishnavas by working in the Muslim court. But they were brilliant personalities, both of them. Actually, the Nawab of Bengal, he had a dream that these two personalities, if you can bring them into your court, are going to bring all success to your dynasty and all the different things you want to do. He didn't realize that the success would be in his spiritual advancement. He thought only success in the material. But as soon as Mahaprabhu met these two personalities in Ramkeli, then immediately he knew how qualified they were to carry his mission into this. Mahaprabhu has come with a mission. He has come with an agenda, and he wants to give all the conditioned souls the opportunity to taste Brajaras, to taste Raganuga, Rupanuga. We have become Rupanugas. But Rag, Mag, Bhakti Loke, Karite Prachan. This is why Mahaprabhu has manifested. So the top of our line is Rupa Goswami.
Abhiman as Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva is certainly devoid of religious principles.
Yes, this aversion will just see if I have that verse here. Oh, Priya Sarupe, no, don't have it. Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijana Rupe. Okay. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. So that's talking about atheists completely. Would be the only people averse to reading this Jaiva Dharma. I mean, how could any group legislate you should not read the Jaiva Dharma? I was in a group before with some devotees, and they were saying, oh, my guru has said I'm only supposed to read Prabhupada's books and nothing else. This is what Prabhupada glorified in his books. He glorified Jaiva Dharma in Chaitanya Charitamrita. This, of course, should be read. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's saying, yesterday we were glorifying him all over the planet. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was glorified because he gave the blueprint for us to follow for the next hundreds of years. In all the different temples, we sing all of his bhajans every single day, his moods, his sentiments. And who is he? He's Kamala Manjari. He's the maidservant of Ananga Manjari, who is in the ute of Lalita Saki, who is Radharani's dearmost Saki. So this is our line. And Kamala Manjari, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is representing that. So he's giving us this. How could we not embrace this Shastra fully? Yava jivane jay pade Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktiman se jnana vrita jnana karma.
One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of Gyan and Karma.
Yes. We realize that right in the very beginning when we study the verse Anya Vilasita Sunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. My Gurudev made everyone in his Sangha learn this verse. Even little boys would stand up at the festivals and chant this verse. And practically every single festival, he would go through it at least for a few hours, this verse. Anya Vilasita Sunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. That this Gyan and Karma, etc., is to be expelled. And we touched on briefly the other day the three different types of Gyan and their distinctions and what is to be held on to. Do you remember? Tat Padartha Gyan and Tvam Padartha Gyan, knowledge of the self and knowledge of Krishna, Tat. So these two have purpose to being cultivated. But the third type of Gyan, Jiva Brahm Aikya Gyan, this knowledge of impersonalism, is to be rejected. It has no value at all. So right at the beginning, we're hearing Gyan and Karma. There are three paths, this Karma Kand and Gyan Kand and Bhakti Kand. We want to be in this channel of Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. Krishnera Ramala Seva Labi Senara Seva Sukhi Magnaraha Sada Krishna Para.
Such a man, being fully devoted to Shri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service.
So this is the conclusion. This is the prayojan. This is the prem prayojan. To remain merged. This is what we were just talking about, this cleansing of the Gundicha. Our objective is to remain focused on our service to Krishna, to Radha, to our Guru Parampara, to all these personalities, this mood of constant seva, with the locket around our necks of Trinada Pi Sunichena, always carrying this mood of Dinhin, I am so fallen and I have no standing. I have no special quality outside what you want to give me. To propagate your message, to inspire. And for my own bhajan, then I have to really reflect internally on all these truths, to remember the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And Raghunath Das has given so many beautiful stavas and stutis, prayers about Radha and Krishna's past. Rupa Goswami has given us so much beautiful writings about Radha and Krishna's pastimes. We want to immerse ourselves in these writings. There's a beautiful prayer called Brajabilas Stava. It has 107 verses, and each verse is glorifying a different quality and aspect of Braj, different personalities. Mukara, Balaram, Purnamasi, Vrindadevi, Sridham, the cows, the flute, the Jamuna, all the different aspects of Vrindavan are so beautifully glorified by Raghunath Das. 107 verses, he's glorifying all of the aspects of Vrindavan to try and merge us into that consciousness of Vrindavan Dham. And then the awakening of Braja Ras will come in the heart, affection and attraction to all of these pastime places of Vrindavan. So living in the world outside of the holy dhams, We must have that core desire in our heart to remain in Braj wherever we are. Even if you're in Russia somewhere, we want to be thinking of Vrindavan somehow or other. Okay, Fal Shruti Ki Jai. So now we're going back to chapter 10, and today we're reading from page 234. So anyone at home, 234, 235. Actually, we're on to page 235, near the bottom. So Vaishnava Das has been speaking so beautifully, purifying so many objections that Nyaya has presented about the history of the Vaishnava Dharma. And he wants to know conclusively about that. So it's a very, very important topic. We said at the beginning, it's establishing the authenticity historically of our heritage of this Vaishnava. And it goes back to Lord Brahma at the dawn of creation. This Vaishnava mood has always been there. But smarters don't recognize that, because what Mahaprabhu has done is enhanced this Vaishnava Dharma. He has brought new light to it. So it's breaking with the tradition. Actually, Mahaprabhu was called the most non-conformist preacher. He wasn't conforming to the tradition of just giving to the Brahmins. He gave to the lower castes, the Harijans, so many different people. This, and even Antyajas, even outside of the caste system, were given this knowledge. So the Brahmins were objecting because it was taking away their livelihood and their mood of self-importance in the world, because it seems like other people were able to perform the same yagyas, etc., as they were doing. That previously they were just exclusive brahmanas. And that was at a time when they were very pure, before Mahaprabhu, and going back 3,000 or 4,000 years. No doubt the brahmanas, Krishna, he used to feed 10,000 brahmanas every single day in Dwarka. He would regularly perform seva to the brahmanas. We know the beautiful pastime of Sudama Brahmana. So all the way through the Dwarka Lila, Krishna is glorifying the brahmanas. So 5,000 years ago, the brahmanas had tremendous status in the world. They because of their purity and their practice, they were able to perform tremendous auspicious feats for the people generally. But then it's just become degraded like everything else in Kali Yuga. So now in that degradation, the Brahmins have objected, who is this Mahaprabhu? Why is this? Because the Vaishnava Dharma is like rising with the inspirations coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but it's sidelining all the Brahmins because it seems to be more strong than the Brahminical culture, which is, of course it actually is. Mahaprabhu was a Brahmana, Advaita Acharya was a Brahmana, Nityananda was a Brahmana. They're all Brahmanas, so many of Mahaprabhu's parikars, but that was not the place that they were actually indicating for everyone else to go to be like a Brahmana. That was not, to take the qualities of the Brahmana, truthfulness, austerity, cleanliness, etc., all these qualities of a Brahmana should be there in any Vaishnava. These were the qualities that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gave all the Westerners when he first went to the West. He told them how to bath, shave their hair, etc. You know, how to eat properly, how to cook properly, how to go to the bathroom properly. All of these things, he taught them how to clean the cloth every day and so on. All of these things, he taught them, you know, the basics of the Brahminical culture. And then he gave the internal aspect also, which is the most important. So these Brahmanas, they're actually envious, they're jealous, we can say. So now Nyayaratna is going to ask some more questions here. Nyayaratna, all right, because the last thing we said, Babaji said, there are various practitioners. The various practitioners only behave in that way to try to attain perfection in their respective goals, as the Shastra recommend. Oh, he's talking about the Vaishnavas here. Okay, we'll just carry on. Nyayaratna, all right, that is clear, but why do you oppose the killing of animals in sacrifice when the Shastras support it? I just heard a terrible thing today, just mentioned that our president of India here, Mr. Modi, he's very proudly speaking at a place in Gujarat, proclaiming that India is #1 beef exporter. I don't know how he can hold his head up as any sort of Hindu and say with some sort of pride that they're the #1 beef. Beef only means cows. So anyway, I was quite shocked. I knew that India was the #1 beef exporter, but to have the president, huh?
To have the audacity.
Yes, in Gujarat, which is supposed to be traditionally a pious place, and a huge audience, and they're all clapping him. So we see how Kali Maharaj has influenced all these people in such a degraded way. So from this, we see how much work the devotees actually have to do and perform, because they're going to suffer tremendously for this. There's no doubt. And in that deepest, darkest suffering of all those people, some of them, sincere ones, might cry out for direction, and the devotees should be there, qualified to give direction. Nyayaratna, all right, that is clear. But why do you oppose the killing of animals in sacrifice when the Shastras support it? Vaishnav Das, it is not the intention of Shastra that animals should be killed. The Vedas declare, Ma himsyat sarvani bhutani. One should not commit violence to any living entity. This statement forbids violence to animals. As long as human nature is strongly influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, people will be spontaneously driven to illicit connection with the opposite sex, meat eating, and intoxication. So these modes of passion and ignorance, if we are not endeavoring to become self-controlled personalities in our own habits and allow this prevalent influence of passion and ignorance to control us. We have to know how to, we rise in the morning in tamagun. When we're sleeping, the senses are closed down, we're in tamagun. And then we have our program to get ourselves out of that tamagun straight away. We start to offer prayers to our Guru Vargya, and then we take our Hari, then we bath, etc. Then we go to the temple and we chant prayers in front of Krishna, and then we begin our own meditation. These are all acts to clear ourselves of this influence of passion and ignorance and come quickly to the mode of goodness so we can conduct a civilized life for ourselves in this world. And we can do it. But we have to be self-disciplined initially. Without that self-discipline, we're just going to get drowned by the influences of passion and ignorance. As long as human nature is strongly influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, people will be spontaneously driven to illicit connection with the opposite sex, meat-eating, and intoxication. Such people do not ask the Vedas to sanction their activities. No, they don't ask. It's like an illicit person, a sinful person, doesn't ask a guru, should he do this? His own independent nature has taken over, and Maya is influencing him, and he wants the fulfillment of his desire, and he knows that the saintly people will not bless him, so he just goes and does it himself independently, and then will suffer. Then he'll get a headache for it. The purpose of the Vedas is not to promote such activities as meat killing, but rather to curb them. When human beings are situated in the mode of goodness, they can naturally refrain from animal slaughter, sexual indulgence, and intoxication. Until that point, the Vedas prescribe various means to control such tendencies. This is what we're saying, how to control. We know as sadhaks how to control ourselves on this path, how to chant, offer our prayers to Guru Bhagya, etc. Go to Mangalati, all these different. Take Mahaprasad, only Mahaprasad. Until that point, the Vedas prescribe various means to control such tendencies. For this reason, they sanction association with the opposite sex through marriage. Vivaha yagya, the killing of animals in sacrifice and drinking of wine in particular ceremonies. By practicing in this way, these tendencies will gradually wane in a person, and he will eventually be able to give them up. So it's like training an animal. You know, if you've trained to train an animal takes time and patience. It takes careful giving. A higher taste is the method, to give a higher taste than illicit sex. The glorification of Radha and Krishna, the celebration of kirtan, gives a much higher taste than these lower animal-like propensities. So just like with an animal, you give him a piece of sugar when he does the right thing. So gradually, with this param drisvara nivartante, we're getting the higher taste in our practice to give up the lower taste. This is the purpose of the Vedas. By practicing in this way, these tendencies will gradually wane in a person, and he will eventually be able to give them up. This is the true purpose of the Vedas. They do not recommend the killing of animals. Their intention is expressed in these words of Srimad Bhagavatam. Loke vyavahimse madhyas seva, nityas tu janato nahi tatra kodana. Vyavashtitas teshu vivaha yagya sura gahai ashu nivritir ishta. It is observed that people in this world have a natural tendency towards intoxication, meat eating, and sexual enjoyment. But Shastra cannot sanction their engagement in such activities. Of course not. These are animalistic activities. These are lower grade activities. They are exploitive. They're either hurting ourselves or they're hurting others. In all ways, this sexual exploitation is a violent exploitation of the respectability of the parties. If even in a family situation, if that is not honored, if it's not properly performed at the Garbhadan sanskars, etc., just to create a child, if it's abused, then disrespect for each party is going to come. The woman will disrespect the man, and the man will disrespect the woman. So the sanctity of that relationship will be reduced because of that. It'll be like a violence towards an abuse of each other. And intoxication is like self-abuse. You numb half of your brain by becoming intoxicated. And animal killing is, of course, directly violent towards...
we lose mercy.
Yes, mercy of the creatures. But Shastra cannot sanction their engagement in such activities. Therefore, special provisions have been given whereby some association with the opposite sex is permitted through marriage. Some. This means not to abuse each other. Some eating of flesh is permitted through performance of sacrifice. Yes, again, it's a limited amount. It's not unrestricted. And the drinking of wine is permitted through the ritual known as Suryamani Yagya. The purpose of such injunctions is to restrain the licentious tendencies of the general populace and to establish them in moral conduct. The intrinsic purpose of the Vedas in making such provisions is to draw people away from such activities altogether, to bring them to the platform of a civilized human, and then from that sattva gun, bring them to Shuddha sattva, pure goodness. It's a whole beautiful ladder all the way through. The Vedas are taking from the lowest place and trying to bring us to the highest place. And all along the way, the mind may rebel or the mind may accept at every single step. And the more submissive we can be to the path, the more quickly and simply our journey will be. The more we appreciate that the sadhus and sages and guru are only trying to support us and help us to taste this highest bliss. They know how much we're suffering when we're separated from Krishna. They know that you cannot be happy when you're separate from Krishna. You can only be happy when you're involved in serving Krishna. There isn't another way. They know that conclusively because they're sitting in the other world and they're looking at everyone like little children, you know, looking for some sort of pleasure materially. And they know that it can never, it cannot, but it takes us a long time to, we always think, well, they didn't know about this. I can just indulge in this or that or something. But it doesn't bring any pleasure, ultimately, any satisfaction. The Vaishnava conclusion in this regard is that there is no objection if a person whose nature is ruled by passion and ignorance kills animals. However, a person who is situated in the mode of goodness should not do so, because causing harm to other jivas is an animalistic propensity. So we know that sometimes in Vedic culture, the Kshatriyas, they would go out and they would hunt the animals to protect the ashrams of the sadhus, because there are many wild animals, and the ashrams of the sadhus many times were in lonely places. So they had lions and tigers and all kinds of, you know, wild animals that would disturb the sadhus and the rishis in their meditation. So the Kshatriyas, they would go out, and many times the advanced Kshatriyas, they would only take a knife with them, and they would challenge with their physical energy against these creatures because they loved the sport of fighting like that. So they would keep the the ferocious animal population down. Even Lord Ramchandra, what did he do? He kept all the demons down. What's it? Dushashan and Kar and you know your Ramayan? Kar and Dushana? Yes? So they would keep all the demons, Ravana, etc., ultimately down. Sri Narad has explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, Astani sa hastanam apandani chatush padam falguni tatra mahantam jivasya jivanam. Living entities without hands are prey for those with hands. Life forms without legs are food for the four-legged. You see, animals indulge in animal killing. That's their dharma. That's what they're supposed to do. That's their subsistence on food. We are not animals. You know, we have the long intestine of a human. Animals have very short intestine. They can take the meat, and before it's purified, they can excrete it. Putrefied, rather. But a human, he takes the meat and it causes cancer in your gut because the gut is so long, it doesn't even have time to get out. It causes all kinds of problems internally because we don't have a short intestine, we have a long one. Like a cow has a long one also because it's going to digest. Cow has 4 stomachs. It digests all that grass and turns it into milk for us to live on and perform yajnas with. Small creatures are subsistence for large ones. In this way, one living entity is the means of existence for another. This is amongst animals. The verdict of Manusmriti 556 is also very clear. Na mamamsa vakshane doshe na madhye na cha matune pravritir esha bhutanam nivritis tu mahafal. Abstinence from activities such as sexual indulgence, meat eating, and intoxication yields highly beneficial results, although a human being is naturally inclined to them. If we restrain, for example, the male restrains his semen, that's called the ojas. This is the most potent part of his system, and he channels it into his brain. then he can become very illuminated by that. So abstaining from these, like being a vegetarian, then literally your consciousness will be elevated. When you're under, every time a cow is killed, it has an adrenaline gland. And the second before the cow is killed, that adrenaline gland bursts and goes to every part of the cow. That adrenaline gland contains a lot of heavy toxins. So when all those toxins are in every part of the animal, and then you eat that animal, your consciousness is going to become clouded and down. Therefore, you become more animalistic. So all this has purpose. Intoxication will just take you well away from anything.
This, sacrifice of animal, that was only for lower animals like chicken, which is
No, cows were sacrificed, horses were sacrificed principally.
no, that is not allowed. Only goats and chicken.
Oh, that's regular general sacrifices, but in the rishis,
Shastra, in the Shastra,
the Shastra, they have Ashvamedha sacrifice. This is a sacrifice of horses.
Who wanted to, they could not stay without having meat. So Shastras recommend you can kill only a chicken, that too on particular day, and it should have some different. Because that
or a goat or
a
a sheep,
goat,
something, yeah.
Because only that is what a body can take, that energy. Like you said, the cow thing is, it is a never.
Yeah. But when the cow would be sacrificed, it would be an old cow and given a new energy, new life.
But that nobody used to have that.
The cow flesh, you know.
It's grown.
It's Kali Maharaj. And see how that's working. That is just simply by the influence of the media, making the Western world look attractive. And what is the attraction of the Western world? More sensual pleasure. And that means more eating meat.
The four
yes,
regulative principles.
Completely smashed. Okay, so we've run out of time again. Okay, so we'll carry on tomorrow from here. I just finished this thing. Abstinence from activities such as sexual indulgence, meeting, and intoxication yields highly beneficial results, although a human being is naturally inclined to them. So that's where we'll stop today. So thank you all so much for coming in. Thank you at home, if this live stream is reaching you. And meditate on the Gundicha Marjanam today, and cleansing the heart, and all divine instructions from Mahaprabhu. May they quickly fill the heart and replace those negative disturbances of unwanted material desires. So Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhabevaccha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Jai.